Volvo's standalone brand Polestar is no longer satisfied in being a niche player, and that's why it plans to grow volume from 29,000 units this year to an incredible 290,000 by 2025. And to do that, well, it needs some new product, doesn't it? That's why next year the Polestar 4 arrives, which is the compact SUV, but the year after, the Polestar 3 arrives. Let's check it out. So we don't have that much time today with the Polestar 3, so you'll have to excuse me looking at my cheat notes here. So what is it? Well, the first thing you need to know is this is Polestar's alternative to cars like the Tesla Model X and the Audi e-tron. Now, we think when it arrives in early 2024 in Australia, it will be priced from around $135,000, which isn't bad considering what you get. Now, we've got to consider the design. It looks awesome. I mean, I think this is actually a secret wagon because, well, it's not a proper big SUV, is it? It's got a much lower roofline than some of its rivals, and there's also some tricks as well. To get this bluff front end here, look, this is a little wing here. There you go, so it's a lot smoother than you think. And this wing also highlights some of the, well, advanced aerodynamics Polestar has used to maximize range. Range is around 610 kilometers. So anyway, that wing there keeps the airflow all the way over the back of the car, and it pops down into this little wing here. And again, this wing is playing another trick to deceive your eye, to give it more of an SUV profile, but yeah, it's more slippery than you think. So beneath the skin of the new Polestar 3 is Volvo's next generation SPA 2 architecture, which is kind of dedicated and purely created for pure electric vehicles. Now, this particular one is powered by a 111 kilowatt hour battery, and there's going to be two versions launched initially. Both will have dual motors. So the base standard range one will have a 360 kilowatt dual motor setup, which produces around 840 newton meters of torque, and that provides for a 0 to 100 kilometer time of around 5 seconds and a 210 kilometer hour top speed. Now, there's also going to be a performance pack version that boosts power up by around 20 kilowatts, so that produces 380 kilowatts and 940 newton meters of torque, and that car gets to 100 kilometers per hour in about 4.7 seconds. Top speed remains capped at 210. So we've already pointed out the unique aero blade at the front there, the rear wing thing, but there's also other things that maximize range, things like these door handles there that pop out, which is kind of cool. And these mirrors here, they're sort of frameless there, and they're supposed to cut drag by around 30% compared to conventional mirrors. I mean, it's the small details that counts with big SUVs like this. At the front of the car, designers, I mean, are seriously proud about this thing here, which is the Smart Zone sensor cluster, and basically all the radar, laser stuff, there's a front view camera is there, and that's all embedded because this will eventually offer level 3 autonomous driving, so the sort of unsupervised driving that we all dream about. But that will only happen when they introduce the versions with a long-range LiDAR that will sit just at the top there. And that means, unlike some of the Mercedes-Benz systems that currently are limited by 60 km/h because of legislation, that this should be able to cruise along the highway at maximum speed, perhaps, legislation allowing. So if you're wondering about size-wise, and I am going to have to cheat here, this is around 4.9 meters long, 2,120 millimeters wide, and it stands 1627 millimeters tall, and it's got a really, really long 2,985 millimeter wheelbase. So that, comparative to something like an XC90, is 53 millimeters shorter, 149 millimeters lower, and 162 millimeters wider, with a 1 millimeter shorter wheelbase. So that means that this car has acres of space inside because it will only ever be a 5-seater. There is absolutely no plans for a bigger 7-seat version. Inside the Polestar 3, well, it is by far the company's best cabin yet, and it's dominated once again by a huge infotainment screen. This one's around 14.5 inches in diameter. Now, this also runs the latest Google Automotive, and it just has faster processing power, and it's been redesigned, and it's supposed to be, well, the most intuitive in the business. There's also some really, really nice finishes here, but unusually, after Volvo's commitment to get rid of leather from the interior, Polestar has reintroduced it. But it's not just any leather, because this is supposed to be not only sustainable, but guaranteed animal welfare or something or other. But yeah, it's interesting to see leather making a return, as well as some of this wood. There's wood back in the interior of a Polestar, which is interesting. Oh. In the back, well, you can see how much legroom there is, and there's plenty of headroom. And this car also has an enormous panoramic roof. There's a few gripes though. This floor is obviously quite high because that's where the 111 kilowatt hour battery pack lives. But yeah, this is a comfortable place to lounge back and enjoy the ride. Polestar has also introduced some new technology, and it includes a camera-based sensor tech that detects whether or not you have accidentally left your pet or child in the car on a hot or cold day. If the car thinks that you have, it fires up the air conditioning to ensure they don't die of hypothermia or cook themselves. Deeply unpleasant. So we've spoken to some Polestar engineers, and they are very, very proud about some of the new chassis technology the new Polestar 3 introduces, and that includes a rear axle that has torque vectoring. Instead of using the brakes, this system uses sort of a multi-plate clutch system that can, well, shuffle torque across the axle a lot quicker, a lot more efficiently, and is supposed to make up for the Polestar 3 not having a rear steer axle. We haven't tried it yet, but they say it is a real improvement over current systems. So the Polestar 3 has been developed alongside the Volvo EX90 and of course the next generation XC90 that will transition to a pure electric powertrain. Now, engineers say that out of the three, obviously this is going to be the most sporty, but thanks to its dual air suspension, it will still offer, well, fine levels of ride comfort. So the Polestar 3 will be made in two factories, one in China and one in the US, and Australia will get their cars from the Chinese plant. Now, this is set to arrive in Q4 of 2024, and we've already mentioned it'll be priced from $135,000, which should be very, very competitive. And better yet, we should have a certain amount of supply when it's introduced. Will it put Polestar on the map in Australia? Well, do you know what? I think this is just the car the brands need. It's both stylish, it's beautifully made, and it's pretty damn cool.